class we had done the basic strength 3 where we had almost covered everything what was required to understand the basic strength order of nitrogenous bases. Now today we will talk about the site of protonation. What exactly the site of protonation means? Where you have multiple nitrogens on your molecule and you need to decide if H plus comes and attack on which particular nitrogen it should come and attack first. Okay, so let's start with this. First of all, understand if you have any amine or any nitrogen based compound, it will have a lone pair. H plus will come on it, will make a bond over there, will get a positive charge on itself and Cl minus, something like this will be the structure of your molecule. So basically H plus will come and attack on the lone pair of nitrogen, it will become N plus and Cl minus will attach to it. That's how it will form a salt. Now we will talk about certain examples where we have multiple nitrogens on a molecule and we have to choose which nitrogen H plus should choose to attack. That means on which nitrogen the electron density is more. Wherever the electron density will be more, H plus will come attack over there and that will be our site of protonation. So let's look at the first compound. Example here is, this is NH2, NH2 has one lone pair and there is a nitrogen over here where one lone pair is present over here. This lone pair is a delocalized lone pair, delocalized lone pair. Why this is delocalized? This is delocalized because this is participating in the resonance. Whereas if you look at this lone pair, this is the local lone pair. It is not participating in the resonance, and we have already spoken about the structure of pyridine. And then we had understood if H plus comes over here, the positive charge which nitrogen gets, that positive charge is also resonance stabilized. First of all, local lone pair. Secondly, after H plus attack, the positive charge of nitrogen is resonance stabilized, hence this seems to be a better position for H plus to attack rather than this NH2. So H plus will attack over here, and this is how your protonated amine or protonated nitrogen will look like. So exactly this is the way how we have to choose which nitrogen your H plus should choose to attack on. Okay, so now let's look at another compound. Another compound, we have nitrogen over here, again a lone pair here. This lone pair is local lone pair. Whereas if you look at this lone pair which is present over here, this is in conjugation with this pi bond. So this is a delocalized lone pair. And hence, if local and delocalized lone pairs are there, you will always choose the local one over the delocal one. So local lone pair will be the one where H plus should attack. So the point of attack will be this nitrogen. Now exactly same way, here we have two nitrogens, one is here and one is here. This nitrogen's lone pair is in conjugation with the double bonds of this benzene. So this lone pair is the local lone pair, whereas look at this lone pair, this is the local lone pair, hence so this will be the site of protonation. Now look at this, this is nothing else but pyridine. If you look at the structure of it, this is something like this. This is your pyridine and here is your another molecule. This is exactly how it is, or this can also be written as you can also write it this way. So here if you look, the pair of electron this nitrogen has, this lone pair is not participating in the resonance. We have already spoken about it, and this we have learned when we were talking about pyridine. But look at this lone pair is definitely in conjugation with this pi bond as well as this pi bond. So this is creating the aromaticity which is required, and this lone pair is part of the aromaticity as well as resonance. So this is a delocalized lone pair, delocal lone pair. Lone pair on this ring is delocalized one, the lone pair which is present over here is the localized one, and hence this is gonna be the better site of protonation. I hope you are getting how we are choosing the site of protonation. Now look at the next example. We have lone pair over here, we have lone pair over here, right? So here both of the lone pairs are delocalized one because both can participate in the resonance. But if you look at this nitrogen over here, this nitrogen has two electron releasing groups, so basically increasing the basic strength or increasing the electron density around this nitrogen, whereas here we have only two hydrogens. So definitely this nitrogen is more electron dense. We cannot judge here the basic strength in the terms of local or delocal because both are delocalized lone pairs. So we have to see whether electron releasing groups are present or not. So this nitrogen has two electron releasing group present on it, whereas this nitrogen doesn't have electron releasing groups on it. So this is better in terms of electron density, and hence this nitrogen is the one which is gonna be the site of protonation. Now look at the next compound. Next compound, we have this lone pair and we have this lone pair. This lone pair is the local one, whereas this lone pair is involved with in conjugation with this pi bond. So definitely this nitrogen should be the site of protonation. Look at this compound. We have a lone pair over here. Moreover, there is a CH3 over here. And we have a lone pair over here. So look at this nitrogen. This nitrogen will be facing SIP, steric inhibition of protonation. So basically this has lone pair, but it cannot get attacked by H plus because of the steric hindrance which is provided over here. So even though it has two CH3s and enough electron density, it will not be able to attract H plus. So H plus will not come over here due to the extreme steric hindrance, whereas this nitrogen is little away from the steric hindrance, and hence it has two electron releasing groups plus no steric hindrance due to the ortho positions, and hence this will be your site of protonation. Look at this compound. In this, NH2 is delocalized because it will be participating in the resonance, whereas this NH2's lone pair is not participating in the resonance. So this is your local lone pair, and hence this nitrogen is the favorable site of protonation. Now let's look at this compound. Here again, this nitrogen's lone pair is in conjugation with this pi bond, this nitrogen's lone pair is in conjugation with this pi bond, but this lone pair is not in conjugation with anything, so this is local lone pair, and hence better site for protonation. Now, so this lone pair and this lone pair is in conjugation with this pi bond, so these are delocalized lone pair, though there are electron releasing groups present next to them, that is CH3 and CH3, but this lone pair is delocalized ones, whereas if you look at this nitrogen has a lone pair which is the localized one, hence this nitrogen will be a better nitrogen to get attacked by H plus. Now look at the next compound. This compound has a lone pair here, and lone pair here. In this case, now there is no conjugation as such. We can't see any kind of conjugation. So let's go by the degree. What is the degree of this nitrogen? This is primary degree. This is your secondary degree, and this is your tertiary degree. And we have already spoken about it, that when we talk about the degree of amines, which amine is more basic, the secondary is most basic, then comes your tertiary, and then comes your primary, except in case of methyls. If methyls are there, then the order becomes secondary, primary and tertiary. So this is your secondary amine, and hence this will be the better site of protonation. Now come to the next compound. This nitrogen's pair of electron is D-local lone pair. Okay, let's look at this. This is also delocalized lone pair, as well as this is delocalized only in aniline, whereas this is delocalized along with the CO as well as with the benzene. So basically the lone pair of your nitrogen is delocalized by two ways. One is it is participating in resonance with benzene, as well as this is an amide group. I had already told you how the amide group behaves. So basically this NH can give electron density to CO also, and hence more distribution of electron is happening. That means the electrons are not reaching to the nitrogen in most of the cases, and hence this is lesser electron dense. So basically if you compare this nitrogen and this nitrogen, both nitrogens are participating in the resonance. Then the down one is participating more in resonance, hence less availability of electron, hence a bad site for protonation. So this is a better site for protonation. Come to this compound. This compound again has a pair of electron here which is local, whereas if you look at this pair of electron, this is D-local. This is delocalized lone pair. If this is delocalized lone pair, definitely local one is better than that, and hence this is the right site of protonation, or this is the good site for protonation. Now look at these compounds. Again we have a pair of electron here and pair of electron here. This pair of electron is not in conjugation with this pi bond, whereas this pair of electron is in conjugation with pi bond. So this is D-local lone pair, whereas this is local lone pair, and hence definitely this is the better site for protonation. Now look at this. This your NH2 has this is 1 degree of your amine, whereas this is your amide group. So I told you in case of amide what happens, this lone pair is in conjugation with this oxygen or this double bond. So this is delocalized lone pair. This is delocalized lone pair. So first of all we have to check whether the pair of electron is delocalized or localized. So if it is a comparison between delocalized and localized, localized will always win. So we won't talk about the degrees here, we will directly check the localized and delocalized. So this is local lone pair, hence this will be the better site of protonation, because this is most available pair of electron. Next we will talk about the feasibility of reaction. So feasibility of reaction is exactly the same thing what we have learned for the acids, that a strong acid will displace a weak acid and the reaction will go in the forward direction. So reaction will always, basically what will happen is, so what we had seen, strong acid was displacing the salt of weak acid, and strong acid was forming the salt and weak acid was forming in the product. So exactly same thing is happening over here. Here you will have a strong base and salt of a weak base. Salt of a weak base will get displaced by the strong base and the reaction will go in the forward direction. But just in case, if you have a salt of strong base and a weak base next to it, weak base will not be able to displace the strong base from its salt, and hence the reaction will not be feasible. So here the reaction will go in the phenomena like your strong base can displace the weak base. So strong base will react with the salt of weak base, will kick out the weak base out of it and will make salt over there. So here if you look at it, this is your one base and this is your salt. NH3 plus Cl minus is the salt. Now we have to understand which one is stronger, which one is weaker. So this is your second degree of base and this is your primary degree of base. Second degree of base is definitely better than the primary degree of base. So this is the strong base and this is the salt of weak base. This is salt of weak base. So definitely displacement is possible. The strong base will displace the salt of weak base, will kick out the weak base and make salt with it. So salt is done. H plus and Cl minus will go and will make a salt over here. So it will form Me2. My bad, there is a typing error. This is Me2 NH2 plus Cl minus. So this is salt of strong base and weak base is out. So reaction will always move towards the formation of the weak base. Now look at this. This is my tertiary amine and this is my secondary amine salt. Secondary amine salt is definitely, secondary amine is a stronger base. So this is the salt of a stronger base and this is a weaker base. So weaker base cannot displace the stronger base, hence the reaction is not feasible. Now let's look at the next compound. This is my primary amine and this is my aniline. So primary amine is definitely a stronger base than your aniline. Why? Because aniline's nitrogen's electron pair is delocalized one, whereas amine's nitrogen's lone pair is the local one. So that is gonna be a better base than the aniline. So this is the salt of weak base and this is your strong base. The strong base can displace the weak base and can form the salt. So here the salt formation is H plus and Cl minus will go and attach over here and your weak base will be out. So your weak base is your aniline. Next is you have ortho substituted aniline over here and here you have aniline salt. Ortho substituted aniline, that means there is a substitution on ortho position, that means it is going to face SIP, steric inhibition of protonation. So this pair of electron, though it looks like this pair of electron is a good pair of electron, but it will not be able to accept H plus Y because of the steric hindrance. So this is a weak base. This is a weak base and this is the salt of a strong base. Hence the reaction will not proceed. Weak base cannot displace the strong base. So this reaction is not feasible. So now let's look at these compounds. Here is a nitrogen over here. This pair of electron is present over here. What kind of amine is it? This is your secondary amine. Whereas if you look at this compound, there is NH2. This is also secondary sort of thing, but fluorines are present over here. So these are electron withdrawing and make this nitrogen very less electron dense. So it is very weak base, very weak base salt. So this reaction is definitely feasible. These are electron donating groups present here. So they are giving electron density, making this nitrogen electron rich. So it is a good base. Whereas CF3 is present here, which are electron withdrawing. So basically decreasing the electron density around the nitrogen and hence it becomes very weak base. And because it is salt, it is the salt of very weak base. So this reaction is pretty much feasible. The reaction will happen in such a way that one H will go over here and one chlorine will go over here, which will make a salt. It will become N plus H2 CH3 Cl minus and the weak base will be out. Look at the next compound. This is my primary amine and this is my tertiary amine. I think I have made a mistake. I have not written 3 over here. This is my tertiary amine. So this is your salt of tertiary amine. Salt of tertiary amine. Now you have to understand that there are all the 3 groups or all the groups are methyl groups. So for methyl group the order is secondary, then primary and then tertiary. So primary is a stronger base, whereas tertiary is a weaker base. So this is salt of a weak base, salt of weak base. So your strong base can definitely displace the weak base and you will get the salt of strong base and the weak base in the product. So here we are done with the feasibility of reactions. Now you understand how the reaction will proceed and which all reactions are possible, which all reactions are not possible. So think, use the concepts what we have learned for the for figuring out the basic strength of the amines and then go ahead and do the reactions and figure out whether the reaction is feasible or not feasible. Now next topic what we are going to do is carbanions. Though we have got a very good understanding about carbanions before, also I have told you what is the structure of carbanion, what are the different properties are, but very small thing we have to understand about the carbanions, that from which all reactions they can produce and what can stabilize the carbanion. All these concepts will be required in the reaction mechanism chapter. So, a very small concept of carbanions we are going to discuss today. The next is carbanions. What are carbanions? Carbanions are the ones where the carbon carries negative charge. How does these carbanions form? Just in case if in my compound on the carbon there is a group present which is electropositive group, and if somehow this electropositive groups come out, you get a negative charge on your carbon and the carbanion forms. What all different properties of carbanions are? These formed in the middle of the reaction. So, these are reaction intermediates. These are short-lived, highly reactive, sp3 hybridized, pyramidal in shape. They have total bond pair of electrons 6. There are one lone pair because of which there is a negative charge. There is no unpaired electron, and these are electron-rich species. All these things we have already spoken about the carbanions before also. It is a just quick review or just quick revision of what we have learnt about carbanions. Now, we will see which all reactions can produce carbanion and what are the stabilizing factors of carbanions. So, these are few reactions where the carbanions can form or where the negative charge can form. So, let us suppose you have a compound where the group is present on the carbon and this carbon is attached to an sp2 hybridized carbon. Then if G will be out as G plus, you will get this kind of carbanion where the carbon has a negative charge and then it is neighbor of the carbon which is an sp2 carbon, and this is called as allylic carbanion. This allylic carbanion's negative charge is resonance stabilized. This lone pair is delocalized lone pair and this is participating in the resonance, and we say this is an sp2 carbon, the lone pair which is a delocalized lone pair and it is participating in the resonance. Other way is your group is directly attached to the carbon which is sp2 carbon. In this case, if the group will be out, there will be negative charge over here. This will be called as vinylic carbanion. And this is your sp hybridized carbanion. This has a localized lone pair is not participating in any type of resonance. So, these are few different type of carbanions I am talking about. Rest of the carbanions we have already seen: primary carbanion, secondary carbanion, tertiary carbanion. We already know how do those carbanions look like. These are some special kind of carbanions which you should know before we proceed towards the formation of the carbanions. Next type of carbanion can be where your group electropositive group is present on the carbon which is sp hybridized carbon. When the group will be out, you will have CH triple bond C minus. This is again your localized lone pair. This will be your sp hybridized. I think by mistake I have said sp here. This is sp2 hybridized over here. So, this is your sp hybridized local lone pair. Next type of carbanion can be when you have a group attached on the benzene chain and this group is attached on basically an sp2 hybridized carbon. When this group will be out, you will get a negative charge on benzene. When you will get negative charge on benzene, this is your sp2 carbon again. This negative charge is not resonance stabilized because the pair of electron and the pi bond both are present on the same carbon. So, only pi bond will be participating in the resonance and the pair of electron will remain as it is. So, this is your localized lone pair present in the sp2 hybridized orbital. This is very important. You need to understand this. The negative charge which is present over here on the carbon is not a delocalized one, and that is the reason why this carbanion is not stable. Phenylic carbanion is not a stable carbanion. Phenylic carbanion will be the name of this compound or this intermediate species, carbanion. Now, stability of carbanion depends on multiple factors. The first and very important factor is the presence of the electron withdrawing group. Any electron withdrawing group is present on the carbon where the negative charge is. That electron withdrawing group will pull the electron density towards itself, will make it lesser negative. Lesser the charge on the carbon is, better stable is your molecule. So, presence of electron withdrawing group basically increases the stability of your carbanion, and that electron withdrawing group, if it is electron withdrawing through mesomeric effect, best group. Then comes your hyperconjugation and then comes your inductive effect. So, best electron withdrawal effect is due to the mesomeric effect, then hyperconjugation, then inductive. This is how your priority will be even when you are arranging the carbanions in their stability order. Now, look at this compound. We have a compound over here where the carbon has a negative charge. Now, these CH3s cannot do mesomeric effect or the hyperconjugation here, especially here, because carbanions don't do hyperconjugation. It is carbocation or carbon double bond carbon are the ones which do the hyperconjugation. So, here this can be solved only through the inductive effect. These CH3s will give electron density to the carbon. This carbon is already carrying, the center carbon is already carrying a negative charge and it is getting more negative charge from the CH3. So, these will be the least stable carbanion. Then comes your this secondary one, 2 electron donating groups, increasing the electron density but not as much as tertiary is. Exactly same way CH3 is there, which is 1 electron donating group. It is increasing the electron density around carbon but not much. CH3 minus, no electron donating group. So this is the best negative charge. This negative charge has slightly increased. This is further increased negative charge, and this is very much increased negative charge or very high density around the carbon. More electron density will be around the carbon ion, more unstable that carbon ion will be, because you have to make your carbon as less charged as possible, or you have to disperse the charge as much as possible so that your species can be stable. So that is why your tertiary is the most unstable carbon ion, then secondary, then primary, and then CH3. Now comes the reaction where the carbon ions can form. The first type of reaction where the carbon ions can form is when your carbon, which is an sp3 carbon, is attached to a minus M group. What all minus M groups can be? C double bond O, CHO, COOH, COOR, and so on. There are so many such minus M groups which are electron withdrawing group through the resonance. So any electron withdrawing group through the resonance, if present, if is the neighbor of an sp3 carbon, then it is easy to form a carbon ion over there. How we can form a carbon ion there? You keep a base near such carbon, or you dissolve such compound in a base which has OH minus. This OH minus will take away this hydrogen. Why it will take away this hydrogen? Because there is an electron withdrawing group present in the neighborhood, which will pull the electron density, will make this carbon hydrogen bond weaker. This carbon hydrogen bond can break very easily. Once it will break, the H plus will be out. That H plus will be taken away by OH minus, and carbon will gain a negative charge. So the species will look like this. This OH minus will attack on this hydrogen, will take away this hydrogen, and the molecule will look like this. Is how your species will look like. For example, if I say that here is my sp3 hybridized carbon, there is one more hydrogen, let's suppose is here, or let's just write a bond over here. This is my sp3 hybridized carbon, which is neighbor of CO, which is a minus M group. Now this minus M group will put, this is minus M group also, this is an electron withdrawing group. So this will pull the electron density towards itself and will break the hydrogen bond from here. So carbon hydrogen bond will break, OH will take it away, carbon will get a negative charge. This negative charge is in conjugation with C double bond O. It is resonance stabilized negative charge. So carbon ion will get extra stability, and that's why the hydrogen will go out. So two reasons for hydrogens to go out. One is CO is an electronegative group, will pull the electron density through the inductive effect, will make the carbon hydrogen bond weaker, and OH minus will come and take away this hydrogen, causing the formation of the negative charge. Now the conjugate base is also very stable by the resonance. Okay, so this is how carbon ions are formed if you have an sp3 hybridized, which is immediate neighbor of a minus M group. Minus M groups are anyways electron withdrawing groups through the inductive effect also. These are electron withdrawing groups through the inductive effect as well as through the resonance effect both. So next method of production of carbon ion is OGM. OGM is organometallic compound. What exactly is organometallic compound means? Organometallic compound means where your carbon is attached to a metal. So carbon and metal, when you talk about these two elements, metal is always an electropositive element in front of your carbon. So carbon will always have a partial negative charge, and not exactly partial negative, but carbon will always have a negative density, and metal will always have a positive density. So that bond is going to be an ionic bond. When it will break, your carbon will get a negative charge, your metal will get a positive charge. So organometallic compounds are the ones which have carbon-metal bond. And when this bond breaks, carbon gets a negative charge and metal gets a positive charge. So what all these organometallic compounds are? These are organic compounds out of which the carbon of organic compound is attached to a metal. For example, R is attached to Na. That means, let's suppose if I write CH3, CH2, Na. So this carbon is attached to sodium, right? So this is your organometallic compound. And here, if the bond between carbon and sodium will break, then sodium will come out as Na plus, and carbon will break as CH2 minus. Okay, so this is called as alkyl sodium, and it produces R minus ion. Exactly same way, there is another compound which is called as Grignard reagent. We call this as a Grignard reagent. I also call it as a God reagent because it can produce almost everything. I mean, you can prepare anything out of it. So this is RMgX. There is a bond between R and Mg. So Mg and R bond will, when it will break, it will form R minus and Mg plus X. Mg plus X. These species will be formed. So carbon ion can form after the breakage of the bond between R and Mg also. Exactly same way, we have another compound that is called as Gilman's reagent. This is organometallic compound of copper. OGM means organometallic compound. So there is a bond between copper and R. So you can also write it as Cu, R, and then Li. So minus charge here and plus here. So this is your organometallic compound even when the one bond breaks from the copper. So when one bond between R and copper breaks, R comes out as R minus and copper comes out as Cu plus. Similarly, we have R, Z and X. When the bond between Zn and R breaks, R comes out as R minus and it becomes Zn plus X. This is called as Franklin's reagent. So all these reagents are capable of producing R minus when the bond between carbon and metal breaks. So this is another way how a carbon ion can be formed. Let's talk about the third and very important way of forming a carbon ion, and that is through active methylene group. Let's understand what is active methylene group first. Active methylene group is also called as AGM. This is the group where two minus M groups are present or adjacently present with a sp3 hybridized carbon. So this is my sp3 hybridized carbon and this is directly attached to two minus M groups, that means two electron withdrawing groups or two strong electronegative groups. Such kind of carbon is called as active methylene group, and mind it, the hydrogens of this active methylene group are very acidic. Why? Because two electron withdrawing groups are present on a carbon and they are pulling the electron density from that carbon. So the carbon hydrogen bonds become very weak and hydrogen comes out of it very fast as H plus and carbon gets a negative charge. So that is why when two minus M groups are directly attached to a sp3 hybridized carbon, that carbon is called as active methylene group. CH2 is a methylene group, and active methylene group means it can release active hydrogen. Active hydrogen is nothing else but H plus. It can release acidic hydrogen and can acquire the carbon ion form. So this is how the arrangement of your active methylene group is: minus M group, CH2 and minus M group. How can you pull out the hydrogen out of this carbon? By reacting it with any base. OH minus will take away the hydrogen from here and this will become a carbon ion. For example, if let's suppose I have OH minus which is attacking on it, OH minus will attack on this hydrogen, will take away the hydrogen, will form water. Okay, I have written minus water because eventually water is getting released, and you will get CHO, CH minus and CHO. So this CHO and this CHO both are minus M group, both are strong electron withdrawing. Exactly same way you have a CO present over here and CO present over here. Two minus M groups are present. This is your active methylene group. It can release H plus very fast and can act as a very strong acid by releasing H plus and can get converted into carboanion. Though it is little weaker than your CHO, because you have the ketone groups present over here which are electron withdrawing, but these ketones are directly attached to CH3 which are electron donating. So electron withdrawing capacity of CO has got reduced a bit. So if you ask me which one is a stronger acid, which active methylene carbon is more stronger acid, obviously the above one, because above one has only two electron withdrawing groups, no electron donating group attached to it, whereas on this CH2 you have two electron withdrawing, that is minus M groups attached, but with those minus M groups there are two CH3s attached which are electron donating and basically decreasing the electron withdrawal capacity of CO. Okay, so if there are electron donating groups present along with the minus M group, then in that case those groups will decrease the electron withdrawing capability of minus M, and hence your active methylene group will not be releasing H plus so easily. That means acidic strength of active methylene group will decrease and it will not form carbanion very easily. So here also, though there is a center CH2 group which can act as a very strong acid by giving out H plus, the acidic strength will vary and will depend upon what kind of minus M group it is surrounded with. Look here, you have again CO and CO over here. This is electron donating group. This is also electron donating group. OET is electron donating group. This is CH2. So this is the active methylene group over here. If you ask me which particular carbon of the first three compounds which we have discussed just now, which has the most acidic active methylene group, the first one, because it has two electron withdrawing groups only and there is no electron donating group attached. In second case, two CH3s are attached with CO and they are donating their electron density through inductive effect. Okay, so through inductive effect, these two CH3s are electron donating and decreasing the electron withdrawal capability of the CO. Now look at this. Here we have CO and CO over here. Both are electron withdrawing, but look at the CH3. CH3 is electron donating through plus I, whereas OET is electron donating through plus M. So basically this shows plus M greater than minus I. So basically it has more donating capability than CH3. and hence it is further reducing the capability of withdrawing the electron density from CH2. Hence, this active methylene group is going to be the least acidic. Why? Because there are two donating groups present here. One is strong donating, one is weaker donating through inductive effect, and hence when donating groups are present, the CO groups which are present along with the CH2, those COs will not be able to withdraw electron density from CH2 very easily, and hence the carbon hydrogen bond will be relatively stronger and will not break so easily, hence will not act as good acid as in the first case or in the second case. So we have all these, look at this compound, I have given you some cases over here. Now what you have to do is you just have to see, analyze which one is better electron withdrawing. All of these are minus M groups. Here you have minus M, here you have minus M, but which one is better minus M, which one is lesser and minus M, that you have to understand and accordingly arrange them through their acidic strength, according to their acidic strength. Acidic strength of what? Acidic strength of AgM. In which case these CH2 will be most acidic, will be able to lose hydrogen faster and will be able to form carbon ion faster. Now look at this, this is CH over here, this is withdrawing, here you have minus M groups, but along with this is showing plus I, here you have plus I and plus M, along with these two minus M. Minus M's are there everywhere, so look at the adjacent groups of the minus I. Here you have strong minus M group, very strong minus M group. This is also minus M, but this is very strong minus M. This is plus I, and this is also plus I. So you have to arrange them according to their acidic strength. So look at the first one has 2 minus I, minus M, compare it with the second one. Second one has a very strong minus M. Why strong? Because this is NO2's, NO2 has 3 electron withdrawing groups are present, so its minus M is very strong as compared to CHO. So these are the only two compounds which have both the groups present which are only electron withdrawing. There is no electron donating group present. So 2 is the strongest acid as compared to first one. So you can say second compound CH2 is most acidic, first compound CH2 is relatively lesser acidic. Now look at the third one. Third one has 1 plus I group. Fourth one has 2 plus I groups, and fifth one has 1 plus I and 1 plus M group. So acidic strength is decreasing from third to fourth to fifth. So third one is better acid as compared to fourth, and fourth one is better acid as compared to 5, because there are, in all the 3 cases, there are electron donating groups and electron donating groups are increasing. Order is gonna be second, then first, then third, then fourth, then fifth. If you have any doubt in this one, you can ask me in the doubts class. Please sit, understand, analyze, and then arrange them according to their active methylene group's acidic strength. Next compound is this. Again, we have 2 electron withdrawing groups present over here with the electron releasing capability over here. Here again, we have 2 electron withdrawing groups present over here. This is my AgM, this is my AgM, and this is my AgM. Now here you have R groups which are electron releasing through plus I. Here you have plus I, and here you have plus M. Because of O, there will be plus M. Here again you have plus M of this oxygen, plus M of this oxygen, and these 2 oxygens are minus M. So basically your plus M and minus M is almost neglecting each other, even though you have a CH2 adjacent to 2 minus M groups, but along with those 2 minus M groups you have 2 plus M groups present which are decreasing the electron withdrawal capability of CO drastically. So if you arrange them in the acidic strength order, this compound is most acidic because it's AgM active, not AgM, AMG. Active methylene group is gonna release its hydrogen fastest because it has R groups which are electron releasing, and it is electron releasing through plus I. In the second case, electron releasing group is present through plus M. Here electron releasing groups, 2 electron releasing groups are present through plus M, and they are decreasing the minus M strength. If the minus M strength is decreasing, which are the minus M groups adjacent to CH2, then the acidic strength of CH2 or active methylene group is gonna decrease. So acidic strength order is first, then second, then. I am just doing it a little faster because now you have a better understanding about acidic strength, basic strength, how any electron withdrawing group will affect it, how an electron donating group will affect it. But just in case if you are not able to understand this, ask me in the doubts class. Here we are done with all acidic strength, basic strength, carbon ion, this and that. Now we will be talking about the tautomerism in the next class. Once the tautomerism is done, we are done with the GOC. Only thing what you have to do is do as much practice as possible so that you can get better relativity with respect to the concepts. You can understand how to apply the concept, whatever different concepts you have learned, and how to get the right answer. So go through this video very, very carefully, watch it twice just in case if you are not able to understand in one go, and then ask me doubts in the doubts class.